Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's HCMx Radio, the only podcast in the HCM arena that weaves current market research, HR technology, and industry leaders into each episode. Our HCMx Radio host is our Chief Operating Officer and Principal HCM Analyst, Rachel Cook.
Hi, I'm Rachel Cook. I'm the COO of Brandon Hall Group and the host of our podcast, our HCMx Radio podcast. And I'm excited to have with me today joining Kate Phillips. Kate is the Senior VP of Human Resources at Bank of America. She leads the Life Event Services, and she's a team dedicated to supporting employees and their families during major life events. And today we're going to talk about how the team was established and the impact the team has had, especially during this time this year of unprecedented times. And so, Kate, you've been with Bank of America for over 10 years, I believe, almost going on 13 years, and you have had a lot of experience in the industry. And you're very passionate, based on our discussions before. It's excited for me to talk to you and for you to share kind of the vision, the mission, and your experience that have led you to leading this team and how you've been able to support Bank of America during this time. So before we get into talking a little bit about the Life Event Services and the team, can you share a little bit about your background?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Rachel, for having me here today to talk with your audience. Really appreciate the opportunity. It's funny when I reflect back on when I started my career, I didn't set out to be in human resources, but ultimately feel like it's just been the right home for me and really where I've made a career for myself. So after graduating from Wake Forest University for undergrad, I moved to Washington, D.C. and started working in a consulting firm and happened to land in the practice of their human capital arm and loved it. Just learned so much about HR, learned about how different HR functions were being strategic in the arena of human resources, which all felt so new and fresh and exciting to me. And ultimately decided from that experience that I wanted to actually join the HR function itself versus just reading and learning and talking to senior HR professionals. So I did a quick stop to get my MBA at George Washington University and then started working in Bank of America after my graduation from business school. Bank of America has a great HR development program for individuals that are completing master's or graduate degrees in the field. And so joined the company into this HR development program that we have, which is a series of kind of HR rotations or assignments over a 2-year period. And then from there, as you mentioned, I have now been with the company for over 12 years. I have had so many different roles in the company that it's hard to keep track of all of them at this point. But that's also what's so great and exciting about working for an organization like Bank of America. You can have so many different roles, and each one brings a whole new set of challenges, a whole new set of opportunities. I feel like I am always learning and growing at our company and have had such a diverse set of experiences. I've been in the Life Event Services leadership role now for just over 2.5 years, and this has certainly been the most challenging and rewarding professional experience of my career. I really feel like I have been bestowed an incredible honor to lead this team on behalf of our company. And as you and I dialogue today, hopefully your listeners will get to learn more about what it is that we do and how unique this team is. So it's really been a great honor leading Life Event Services on behalf of Bank of America. Outside of work, I have 2 small boys, Luke and Matthew, so they consume a large portion of my time on the soccer fields or taking them to different activities. My husband, Ben, and I also enjoy doing sports together. So we golf, we play tennis, go for lots of lovely walks in the beautiful North Carolina weather. And I am a devoted yogi as well. So in order to keep it all balanced, I try to get my yoga practice in on a regular basis to make sure that I'm showing up as my best self. So that's a little bit about my journey and background.
That's great, and we have some of similar interest. Our children love sports. The boys are in baseball, and actually, our daughter, she has her first soccer game tomorrow morning at 10:30. And during the pandemic, I had taken up tennis, and so that's been a lot of fun. And I love.
Yeah.
If you were here in Florida, we'd have more opportunities maybe to cross over and do some of these fun events, especially as things are starting to open up. It certainly has been a year for everyone. And when we spoke earlier this summer, and we're very grateful for the relationship we have with Bank of America, and we've seen such great work amongst your teams and the passion that that different people across your learning and HR team have towards Bank of America. And so, can you elaborate a little bit about the history of LES, why it was established, and the drivers behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with just what is the mission of Life Event Services, and then can kind of back into how we were established. So the mission of Life Event Services is clear, which is to help support our employees and their families that have been impacted by significant life events. And over time, and as this function has grown, the definition of significant life events has broadened and evolved really to support where our employees are and what they're asking for and what they need support with. Since our inception, which was about 6 years ago now, we have helped teammates and managed through more than 150,000 cases to support our employees, retirees, and their family members. That's a pretty astronomical number when you think about it. When I reflect back on kind of how it all started, really it was our senior leaders and their strategic vision of how we as a company really should be focusing on and supporting our teammates in the right way. And so while as a company, we focused on a lot of the traditional things to support our employees, like physical wellness, financial wellness, our workforce and market data was really highlighting the importance of taking steps to support not just the more traditional dimensions, but the total well-being of our employees, their families, and the communities where they live and work. And so our company really made conscious decisions to invest in more programs, more resources, and more benefits, one of which was the creation and the, of course, ongoing expansion and evolution of our Global Life Event Services team. So our ongoing strategy continues to focus on developing innovative benefits, solutions, programs, to support our teammates and employees, sort of no matter what the scale or the complexity of the issues may be. And what Life Event Services is able to do so seamlessly for our teammates is really serve as that single point of contact for them as they navigate different situations, and making sure that we can help connect them to the right programs or tools or resources that we have as a company. So I think we also have just seen, and maybe your listeners have seen this too, which is, work and life and personal aspects are becoming more intertwined than they've ever been before. And so we want to be the company that supports our employees from a whole self perspective, and recognize that, at times our employees may need help with things that are going on in their personal lives. But ultimately, that's to the benefit of all of us if we can be there to support them during those times as well. So that's a little bit about kind of the journey of LES and how we came to be.
And what types of resources do you offer specifically, and how do you support your employees during full times?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, one of our kind of strategic advantages is serving as that center post or that single point of contact for our employees and connecting them into the different benefits, counseling resources, so things like our employee assistance program, as well as just relationships and contacts that we have with experts inside and outside of our company. But the life event services function itself is really organized around 9 core teams that support our teammates through different significant events. When we initially started, we were about 3 or 4 teams. So we started our focus in survivor support, so the passing of a loved one, retirement, and then complex leave of absence. And then, as I was mentioning, we have evolved and grown our portfolio of support to really meet the needs of what our employees are asking for. So in addition to those 3 initial or original teams, we also have a team that's focused on medical accommodations in the workplace, support for individuals that may be experiencing domestic violence, transition related to military service, so supporting our veterans or spouses of active individuals in the military, supporting teammates who may be navigating a terminal illness. And then one of our kind of special teams is also focused on helping our teammates that have been impacted by natural or man-made disasters. So think about tornadoes, wildfires, hurricanes. Of course, those are happening ongoing all throughout the globe, and we partner very closely with other groups in our company to monitor those events, understand where we may have employees that reside, either living there or working in those locations, and then ensuring that we're following up to see how they've been impacted and what kind of support we can assist them with. So it's really been such a pleasure to watch our portfolio grow over the years, again, kind of in alignment with how our teammates have been asking and needing support from us.
And how large is your team? What is the structure like?
Yeah, so I would say globally, our team is just over 100 employees, but certainly with the COVID work, and I know we want to talk a little bit about COVID, that number has increased. So kind of our core traditional BAU LES team globally is just over about 100. But then we have kind of added and tapped into other resources across our HR function to help support and be more dedicated to COVID on top of that.
And is this your task force, would you say, for the pandemic that is partnering with your team?
Yeah, so LES has really been at the kind of forefront of supporting our employees that have been impacted by the coronavirus. Our team really has focused on our teammates that have been exposed to, demonstrating symptoms in alignment with, or in fact have the virus itself. But Life Event Services and myself in particular are connected to a much broader kind of leadership and organizational structure comprised of many different leaders from across Bank of America that are all tackling, how we support our teammates and navigate this global kind of health crisis together in a collective way. But LES has definitely played a kind of center-paced role in supporting our teammates, and then we're connected into the much broader strategy that the company is driving holistically as we think about how we, address the global pandemic.
Right, and so it sounds like your team has grown to some extent because of the pandemic. What other type of impacts have you seen with the current situation?
Yeah, I think obviously, of course, we're supporting our teammates that have been directly impacted by coronavirus and or maybe their families. But I think more broadly as well, the connection to the other teams and the things that our organization can help our employees with has all been connected. So certainly, the focus on emotional and mental health has absolutely kind of continued to surface. We have a lot of teammates that are working from home, not getting some of that connectivity that maybe they would have gotten previously, that human engagement and interaction. So we're also seeing kind of a continued focus and a need for promoting and support through our EAP programs, other mental health and emotional wellness resources that we have. I think also our company has done a great job, and this is kudos to our benefits team that we have that has continued to stand up kind of innovative benefits programs to support our families that are, trying to manage having small children at home, right, who are maybe doing remote learning, and, how can we give them tools and access to resources? I mean, I've seen some of the content that we've put out for our employees, and there's all sorts of educational resources and access to different content that we give to our parents. So, I think what we've seen is, there's sort of the core nucleus of individuals that are impacted directly by the virus, but then of course there's all these kind of secondary effects and impacts that we're seeing. Another one of our teams, of course, that has been in existence for a few years now is our domestic violence support team. And so also kind of seeing the effects of, individuals being at home more. And, it's great that our team has been able to be there to support some of our employees as they've navigated or needed support through domestic violence situations. So, there's sort of the core of individuals that are being impacted directly, and then all of the secondary impacts that our team has been providing support to as well.
Yeah, and that piece is really sad too, because we've seen a lot of domestic violence increase during this time, with more people being together at home, and also child abuse. That's really sad. So
yeah.
It's nice that they have a resource to go to. And do you find that, do you see a lot of your employees taking advantage of that or feeling comfortable to do so?
Yeah, we work really hard as a company to talk about these kinds of issues like domestic violence, like mental health, like substance abuse. We are a large organization on a global scale. And so, what is happening in society is happening often in Bank of America too. And so these issues affect us. And, we see it as our responsibility to talk about these issues, make it okay for people to say, yeah, I need help. And then we want to be there to support people to either get the help that they need, so we can be the conduit, or we can directly provide support and assistance to those employees. And so we work really hard to facilitate things that we call in our company, let's get real or courageous conversations, where we try to tackle these kinds of topics head on, make it okay for people to come forward and talk about the concerns that they're having, and then be able to be there to give them the resources or the tools to support them. So we work really hard to try to make it okay, and I hope folks feel like they can always come to us and access the resources and support our team can provide.
Do you feel that if you did not have this group established or in place prior to the pandemic this year, would you be in the position you are now in the way that you were able to support your employees as effectively?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Having a group like Life Event Services with the teammates that we have, the processes that we have in place, the skill sets in the background of the teammates that we already had doing a lot of the core work that I was describing, I do think uniquely positioned us to step up and do what we needed to do to help deliver and support our teammates during coronavirus. I mean, I truly think our team was so well positioned with the right kind of skill sets, with the right processes, with the right kind of training to be able to quickly assemble and stand this up, because it was really a kind of building the ship while sailing experience. If everyone reflects back to where we were in kind of late February, early March, our team and the training and what we already had in place absolutely better positioned us for tackling this and addressing it for the company.
And for those that maybe don't have as sophisticated or as well a formal team in place, what tips do you have to help others, or what should they think when they are trying to together more of a structure in place for this year, and hopefully less of what we have been experiencing going forward? But as you know,
Yeah.
life is life.
Yeah, I would always say start by listening, gather feedback from your employees and really understand what matters to them. Our company, and I'm sure other companies out there do similar things. We do employee engagement surveys every year. We work hard to gather kind of voice of customer or voice of employee feedback. We do lots of surveys to understand, how people are feeling, what do they need more of. So, for someone or a company that's just starting out, I would say, listen, go out and talk to your employees, understand what's important to them, understand kind of the issues that they're facing, and where they could use help. So, I would always kind of start with a point of listen and understand your employee base and what they need. I would also, encourage folks to be really open-minded and, accept and acknowledge that what is going on in people's personal lives is probably going to impact what's going on in their work life. And I think as a company, the sooner you can kind of open your minds to thinking about supporting people holistically, I think the more successful you will be in terms of setting up these kinds of programs. I think there's been, especially when we were first kind of getting off the ground, like what is the bank doing in terms of supporting people in these other areas? That is very personal. That doesn't have anything to do with the workplace. And so, we kind of got a lot of those looks in the beginning, but I think over time, our employees have, kind of really drunk the Kool-Aid with us to say, wow, what we're doing here is really working. And we see the sense of commitment. We see the sense of loyalty and appreciation. I mean, I get, part of my job is, seeing some really difficult things, but then at the same time, I get to see some really amazing things. And I will get these notes of appreciation where what we're doing is saving people's lives. And as a company, you don't often get to feel like you are doing that. And our team, kind of back to what I was saying, is really uniquely positioned to be impacting people's lives just very positively. So kind of opening, I think, yourself up to understanding, the support from a holistic and a total well-being is really important. And then, of course, I would say having the right kind of programs and benefits and services there. So, you've got to make sure that you're delivering those capabilities and tools to your employees. And then the experience that employee is having when they come and seek support is consistent and is a positive experience. So, you can't be one time it's good, oh, the next time that was terrible. You've got to, while it's what we're doing is very human and very personal and very high touch, especially at a company like Bank of America, you also have to scale that, right? With 200,000 employees globally, I've got to figure out how I balance both the very personal nature of what we're doing, but then be able to scale that work as well. So those are just a few tips.
And I find it interesting, some of the trends as far as, especially being in HR or for us in research and gathering insights and expertise and best practices, we've seen a push for both companies to focus on well-being and not just to help develop them and to help support their career, but really kind of help them bring their whole self to the workplace. And we've seen a shift in strategies that kind of support that approach. And then also kind of blending that life, what was the buzzword a few years ago, work-life balance, and now it's kind of a work-life blend. There's no thing as a true balance. It's kind of a shift in how you kind of prioritize, in that moment or in that time, what is going to have a higher demand on your energy, on your strength and your emotional ability. So, and with this year and what we've been experiencing in a lot of different areas, in social injustice, in the coronavirus, it has made organizations, whether or not we want to believe or feel that leaders need to have the ability to support the employee, in their whole self. It's kind of that shift, and also the remote workforce or the technology. A lot of companies, I know Bank of America, you've had a lot of technology infrastructure and you were able to support your employees. I know you probably had to think about security and things that you may not have before this in such a transformation, but you've had such a good infrastructure in place. And so companies like that were able to continue the momentum when you had to transition a good majority of your employees remotely. So I we see going forward, as we're kind of evolving through 2020 and hopefully 2021 will be completely different in a positive way. A lot of these changes are going to, I think they're not going to go away, as far as the working remotely, supporting employees, thinking about them in a holistic way, as you mentioned a few times. I think that's going to be not just a trend, but kind of an expectation. And it's nice you're in a really good position to sustain and to continue to advance and provide the resources and the competitive advantage that a lot of companies will need to have.
I think you're absolutely right. And, I think to your point, we were pretty well positioned with a lot of the tools and the activities and the technology that we already had in place, so that when we did need to transition to this environment of everybody working from home, we were set up to, continue to maintain a lot of that connectivity. And, I'm always, as my team hears me always talking about, the silver linings, I do think there's a lot of things that we've learned out of this experience that I think will be some practices that will take forward when we hopefully transition, back to people working in the office again, or what we call, kind of the back to the normal, whatever normal is or was. I think there's a lot that we've learned through this whole experience, and we can continue to keep some of the good stuff going. But, I will say too, we work hard to maintain that connectivity and, to get on WebEx and to use the tools that we have, because you do have to be intentional about it. And there's some teams that say, wow, I feel more connected now than I did when I was going into the office, because people are being more intentional maybe about picking up the phone or getting on camera to see someone for a touch base that maybe they would have just done as a call previously. So, it does take intention too, and practice, so that you're doing it and you're doing it consistently.
Absolutely. Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing about your team, LES, and the impact and what you're doing at Bank of America. I think it's remarkable, and I commend all of your efforts and your team efforts. And so again, I think it's helpful for our listeners if they can, if this could share some insights, and then kind of whether it's just another positive story of how we are evolving through this time, or some new ways of thinking about what they can do in their organization.
Good. Thank you so much, Rachel. Bye. Thank you.